From the flat plains of Wisconsin over across the country to the high peaks of the Sierra Nevadas, we are here in Fontana, California for the IndyCar Apollo Racing Club iRacing Series. For round 3 of our Season 6 championship, we are at Auto Club Speedway, a beautiful 2-mile oval famous for its multiple racing lines, its 5-wide salute on the cup car side of things, as well as some great racing all the way around. My name is Keegan Scott, and I am joined for the first time this season by the illustrious, the one and only Will Weisbrod. How are you, my man?
I am doing exceptional. Glad to be back, Keegan. Glad to be back in the booth with you and get things rolling. Looks like we've got great participation this season, so I'm excited to see some good close racing here at Fontucky, one of my personal favorite tracks. I definitely miss it from the IndyCar schedule.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Will, but I've been racing the IndyCar Open Series here on iRacing this week. It's been at Apollo. It's been at Auto Club the entire week, and it was producing some incredible racing. Not a lot of cautions that in the public races. A lot of multi-groove racing, a lot of side-by-side racing. And I quite frankly, I'm looking forward to what it can show us here with these ARC guys. And a little bit of update for you all folks as well. We have instituted a new rule here at Apollo Racing Club. All of our drivers now must complete a examination race where they have to complete 20 consecutive laps pack racing before they are allowed to race. So that should improve the level of cautions quite a lot.
Or decrease the level of them, you might say, but
decreasing is an improvement.
Yeah, very true. And you did make mention about the cup cars, especially going 5 wide here. There's been some crazy IndyCar races, both in real life and on iRacing here at Auto Club Speedway in the past. But the biggest thing about this track, when you're wide like that, you can even see just on video on stream how defined those grooves in the track surface are. Those definitely affect the handling of the car. You catch one of them the wrong way on corner exit, it'll throw you for a loop. That's one thing I've noticed about this speedway, but it's one of those characteristics that I really love and enjoy because not every track has something like that. So it makes you think a little bit more when you're driving side by side next to people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And from what we're talking about here, I mean, we're talking about a 60-lap race here tonight, folks. And we're looking at about a 35 to 38 lap fuel tank, depending on how much people are saving. So we're looking at some different fuel strategies that could potentially go on here. The undercuts and the overcuts are both going to be extraordinarily important here for strategy.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot about the undercut being strong this week potentially, but I guess I had a lot of misses last season, but again, I kind of do this for a living, so I like to think through strategy and everything. If this is me in the race, it's a cool night. Tires aren't going to dig much. Maybe that falls on the undercut side, but if this is me with the one stop like that, I'm going for the overcut, fresher rubber at the end, pull off some extra moves if you need to. So we'll probably see a decent shakeup in the field with the field this large, people taking different strategies, and of course yellows will definitely affect people's decisions on that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're partway through qualifying here, as you can see, folks. James Williamson currently putting up the best time, our friend from across the pond, staying up late once again to race with us schmucks over here at Apollo Racing Club.
Yeah,
man, Will, you were talking about those well-defined grooves, and you can see that there's a whole bunch of patches on the track, even from when they scanned this track a couple years ago. And getting later on into a stint, Will, how much is that going to affect the grip, especially on the bad tires? Because you said something about it.
Right, and again, I think the fact that this is a night race, our track temp is only at about 79 degrees Fahrenheit. It may not have as big of an effect as it would if it were a noon race with 110-degree track temp. But once those tires start to sag a little bit in hard racing, it's going to happen. when the tires fall off, those grooves are going to affect you a lot more than they do early on. So, like I said just a moment ago, drivers are going to have to be very cautious of that when running side by side with others. If you get forced out into one on exit of, say, turn 2 is probably the worst here. It'll throw you around. The back end will step out on you, and it's pretty hard to catch when you catch one of those grooves on exit with the banking. There's really not much you can do to save that, and all you got to do is pray no one is behind you.
Yeah, and I can really see how, like, especially in turns 1 and 2, following through those turns is so difficult. And because you were talking about saving it with people behind you, I had an instance this week where I was racing in the Open Series, and the guy in front of me just washed up into the wall, and it was so hard to prevent myself from doing the exact same thing. And we're going to see a lot of multi-groove racing here. The question is, how much of that multi-groove racing is going to be a consistent and side-by-side the whole time? It takes a lot of skill to run side-by-side.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that multi-groove racing, or at least more moves attempted to be made in turns 3 and 4. It's like any D-oval, right? You got a wider exit, a little more room for air, still not much on the exit of turn 4. So I think if anyone wants to make a smart move, that's where it's going to happen. Trying to make a move into 1 or between 1 and 2 is a lot tougher to pull off. You usually scrub off too much speed and a lot of tire. You probably end up losing positions from that. But yeah, I mean, I think the keys to the race are stay on the lead strategy if you can, depending on cautions. Be cautious of those grooves when tires fall off, and you're going to have to make your moves in 3 and 4. Those are my 3 keys to the race tonight.
All right, our qualifying has wrapped up, and it does look like James Williamson was able to retain the pole position here, setting a blistering lap of, I believe that was a 32.31 that we saw, and that's a super fast lap. Meanwhile, Tanner Long, even with him, 32.32. Tanner Long just about even with James Williamson as well. Andrew Sarowick, Gregory Shaw, and Tyler Reed rounding out the top 5.
And my fellow, I guess now, Ohioan Mark Feeney in P6 on the outside of that third row, followed by RJ Conley, the boy, Jake Jackson, Brock Whiteman, and Christopher Norris. That's your top 10.
Rounding out the rest of the field, we have Adam Martin, the resident Canadian here at ARC. Eric Oliva in 12th. Not a great lap from him, but he's always pretty good on these ovals. Brendan Calderon, Matthew Rice, and Liam McNeil for the top 15. Cody Barrett over there in the Plains section of the United States. Patrick Crouch, Daniel Taskey, Craig Bray, who is also a Canadian. Actually didn't know we had 2 Canadians in ARC. And John Krauser rounding out the top 20.
And to finish off your field, we got the lovely Dominator David McCourt in P21, followed by Scott Singbush, Joseph DuPont, last week's winner, and DeAndre Young.
Yeah, and those 2 are very key players to watch tonight, David McCourt and Joseph DuPont. The points have been shaken up like crazy. David McCord's not had a fantastic start to the season with the wreck on the first lap of Road America last week, and Joseph DuPont being able to just take off and run away with that, as well as not such a great start to the season either at our first race. He is in a bit of a tight situation if he wants to try and retain or defend his championship.
Yep, and I think the new qualifying format definitely shakes things up a bit on this starting grid. I helped Andrew figure some things out with iRacing this week, and that was 2-lap average time qualifying, so you got to run 2 clean laps. Makes the field a lot tighter, a lot more competitive for that pole position. So a heck of a couple of laps for James Williamson as he leads this late night field into green here shortly.
Well, 1 lap to green. Thank you all for coming out and watching the ARC presentation tonight. We have 25 drivers, or I believe it's 24 actually, 24 drivers out on the grid. We're hoping that all 24 finish and all 24 give us a fantastic show with a lot of skillful racing around this very difficult 2-miler, but basically built for Indy cars.
This track is great. I'm expecting a Very energetic start here, especially from Andrew Serwick, starting on the inside of that second row. He took the oval win at Texas in round 1 of this season, but we'll see what happens here in turn 1.
All right, coming around out of 4. Pace car is going to make a hard left turn into the pits here in just a second, and then it will be in the capable hands of the red and white machine of James Williamson. Pace car goes in, James Williamson, Tanner Long, and James gets a huge jump off the beginning. Tanner Long's going to drop down to cover off Andrew Serwick, but they are neck and neck going into the first corner. Everyone kind of straightening up behind him. A couple of people juking for position around the 10th place area. Everyone's favoring the bottom line through this first set of 1 and 2. A little bit of jockeying for position between Tanner Long and Andrew Serwick as well, but everybody, for the most part, stays straight further back. Tanner Long and Andrew Serwick just duking it out to keep that second place position. Meanwhile, it just looks like James Williamson is perfectly happy to defend that bottom groove.
Yeah, James got a pretty solid start there, solid run. The guys behind struggling to fight for those positions before they settle down into their runs here, but you see him file into a single line, try and take some different lines through turns 1 and 2, avoid a little bit of dirty air and aero wash, try and maintain speed to pick up a draft on exit. As you see him really haul in and close in on James Williamson in the toe, Tanner Long looks to the inside, Andrew Serwick washed high.
Yellow flag on 2. That was actually Craig Bray that ended up losing it there. And it does look like Joseph DuPont also had a bit of an incident as well. But we're going to pop the replay up here. What happened at this one? Looks like it was Craig Bray. I know we had a couple people in the wall earlier on in this lap. And oh my goodness, just slams into the back of everybody. I believe they were already slowing up for the caution, but I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I didn't get a great look at that one. We got the onboard with Craig Bray here, starting his second lap, I believe.
Yeah, this is starting lap 2. Caution light is on, and he just doesn't slow up in time. Oh, he got dropped down into. Never mind.
Yeah, it looked like there were some big checkups there on the high side. 3 cars running right up against the blue wall, and it looks like the first of the 3 kind of checked up, washing pretty hard, maybe letting guys by inside, not too cautious of the guys behind him in his mirror, and they just got into it with each other.
Well, that's our first caution of the day on lap number 2. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a couple good green flag lap stints out of the very beginning. But they do have a fast repair to use, so Adam Thompson, Craig Bray, and Daniel Taskey, we can expect to see them back out on the track here momentarily. And yeah, it looks like they have already used their fast repairs and are getting ready to head back out.
I think the main thing now for those guys, right, is to just kind of ride the back of the pack a little bit, try and stay in a draft as much as possible, and they're going to have to go off strategy to make some sort of jump. Obviously, the move when you're in the back of the pack, you can heavy undercut, which means pitting before everybody else. But the risk with that is you expose yourself to the yellow if you take a green flag pit stop early, and within a couple laps afterward before everybody else pits, if the yellow flies, you're going to be stuck back there, but you've got nothing to lose, right? So it's worth the gamble. I don't really think the overcut does you much. If everybody else in front of you pits and you stay out, you lose the draft, and you're going to end up having to pit on your own later. So if no yellow flies there, you are a bit down and out. So I think you're going to see the guys in the back undercut. That is just my prediction. Maybe I'll get one right for once, Keegan.
Maybe, but you can expect those guys in the back as well. Every single caution, they are going to be pitting and taking fresh tires and filling up on fuel, so that way they know they can go the distance and overcut these leaders, I guess you could say. Undercut enough times that you overcut everybody else. Right, Will?
I guess you could say that. I've never thought of it that way, but they definitely should be pitting every caution unless they happen every few laps or so. But you definitely want to make sure you cover yourself to the end here if you're in the back. You don't want to pit, though, if you know the leaders are going to have to come in soon. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on their lap count if you can. If you got any sort of overlays to see I guess when they last pitted, which I don't know why they would, but also just the total lap count. You can kind of base your judgment off of that one.
All right, well, on our first caution, we're going to shout out one of our sponsors, which is actually Grid Finder. That is grid-finder.com if you want to go check them out. They are the internet's premier source for sorting through and picking out which leagues you want to join. It is good for iRacing, F1, Assetto Corsa. They have every single platform on every single console. Whatever you want to race, you'll be able to find your next grid there. So go to grid-finder.com, where ARC is actually a Grid Finder approved league. So you can go check us out on there as well, grid-finder.com/Apollo Racing Club, or check out the site as a whole at grid-finder.com.
Definitely a very helpful website, man. Keegan and I both run our own leagues, and they're actually able to be found on Grid Finder. So we use them ourselves. They're great.
Oh yeah, fantastic, and make the whole sign-up process so easy too. All right, we're getting ready to go back green. The pace car is peeled down. The field is in the hands of James Williamson. He's going to wait and whoa them up like crazy. Jumps just a little bit before the green flag, and he is off and out to the races. And a wreck in the back.
Yeah, that checkup on the start caused everybody to kind of collapse onto one another, and some guys just didn't have enough time to react. I don't know who's running that Gamebridge Colton Hurta livery, but he ended up in the attenuator. The guy straight ahead of him and took out a couple behind from what it looks like.
I'm going back through and checking it out now. Oh, no. Yep. That started way back in the pack. Yeah. That is just a huge problem. Unfortunate. You got to stay close together on these restarts, otherwise that's going to happen. And you can't like check up for every single instance that you see of that potential thing happening. So super unfortunate that that's the way that's the way this restart starts. But sometimes it's just how it works. It's motor racing, baby.
How many cars were collected in that? Five or so? Unfortunate for those guys, but like we talked under the last caution just a few minutes ago, they'll be riding in the back, have to go off strategy, and just make sure you cover yourself on fuel and tires till the end.
Well, unfortunate that we couldn't even get a lap in there under green.
Or a corner,
looks like that was looks like that was trouble for David McCord as well. He might have some damage, but we'll have to see how he manages to hold up with that.
I know exactly how Andrew Serwick is, as I've talked to him more and more since last season's end, and we've raced together a bit more, but I know he gets a little impatient sometimes. Andrew, I know you're going to rewatch this later. Just being honest, dude, I expect you to make some moves here on this next restart. Make sure you don't get checked into the back of, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something happen on the inside of 1, on the back stretch, or the inside of 3. I know that's basically every area of the track, but he's going to be looking. He'll be there. So Tanner Long has to be eyes forward and behind at the same time. Make sure he keeps up with the leader, James Williamson. But don't let Andrew Serwick try anything sneaky on you.
Well, folks, we have a bit of a treat for today, as we're going to introduce one of our brand new commentators for this season. He will be subbing in when Will is unavailable to come in and commentate. He's serving as our pit lane reporter tonight. Everybody welcome Dean Biggles to our stream. Dean, how are things looking on pit road down there?
Absolutely. Yeah, a bit chaotic, as you can imagine. Here on lap 8, we've already had a few people down here in the pit lanes, quite busy. We've had a couple of those gladiators use those fast, quick repairs that you mentioned there. That's Craig there, RJ, Mark, Scott had used theirs, but Adam and Daniel a lap also down there. Didn't use those fast repairs in about 3 minutes and change from that very first accident that occurred, the first caution. But yeah, aside from that, well, keep an eye on all the other action when everybody comes in for their mandatory pit stops and the fuel and fresh boots and all that jazz. But thank you very much. Glad to be a part of the team.
Well, it's great to have you on here, and I believe you're going to be on next week, so it's going to be great to have you in the booth with me next week too.
From pit lane up into the air conditioning of the commentary box, exactly. So that'll be fun. But yeah, for now, I'm sitting down here with the smell of grease, oil, and fuel, mate. Yeah, that's what it's all about down here. It's great.
And we're just doing a nice hot swap because the weeks I'm gone, I'm at the track. So definitely hot. Man, Long Beach was crazy this past week. It was like 95 degrees on Thursday and Friday. I was dying, but loving it at the same time.
Yeah, it was so hot, Simon wanted to go for a swim.
Oh, man, you really had to bring that up. Lights are out on the pace car, everybody. We're going to ignore that statement from Keegan. He makes a lot of those, but we're going green this next time by the start-finish line.
Oh, you're saying I make a statement, Will?
Oh, man.
Yeah, you had a rough weekend, man. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on in the stream.
No.
But I'm sure you don't want to, but we're going to talk about it. All right. Well, you said it. We're coming back around to green. We're coming off of 4 right now. That pace car is going to be cutting down to the left here momentarily and leave it in the hands of James Williamson. He's kind of stalling everybody, going to back everyone up a little bit and gets a good jump right before the green goes out. Tanner Long, not a great jump, but Andrew right on the back of Tanner Long.
Sounds like we had quite the checkup on the restart there from a lot of people. Some drivers upset in chat that other cars weren't going. There you see Andrew Surwick right on the attenuator of Tanner Long, looking outside, trying to stay in the draft of James Williamson as well. Gonna go around the outside of the other black and orange car into 3 and 4. Andrew Surwick pulls off the pass on the outside, back into the toe. James Williamson, he's gonna reel him in here down the front stretch.
Coming back around to start lap 11. James Williamson and Andrew Surwick neck and neck going into 1. It's a hard line to hold around the outside. Andrew so far making a stick. If he can hold this, he's going to have a really great run down the backstretch, and he is able to keep it steady with him. Is he going to have the better run going into 4? He won't have to lift for this at all. He's going to have a great run through the tri-oval as they are still side by side going into 4.
Man, it just looked like he got a little wide there on the exit of 3 and scrubbed off a little too much speed. But he's still right up there side by side, about half a car back from James Williamson. Still sticking to that high line as the guys behind, Gregory Shaw and Tanner Long, try and figure things out. Tanner Long dropped 2 spots there on that last restart. Andrew Surwick right there on James Williamson, making some weaves like my boy Simon Pagano. Try and hold on to that lead.
No, he's not making some weaves. He was, in fact, weeding.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was bad. Anyway, neck and neck at the line. It's still going to be James Williamson who leads lap number 12 as they are still fighting for that position. But this is kind of what we were expecting here at Auto Club. A lot of multi-groove racing, and it does look like that bottom groove is stronger tonight, considering it's a cooler track and you don't really have to worry too much about sliding up from the bottom.
Yeah, I think Andrew's best bet here is to try and get a good run. If he wants to make the pass, he's going to have to get to the inside on the exit of the corner, and that's exactly what he does here. He will most certainly retain that pass there through 1 and 2, which it looks like he does. About go 3 wide there as well, but James Williamson has not given up the fight just yet. Down the backstretch, great run out of 2, right on Andrew Surwick again.
It's a 4-horse race as Gregory Shaw is looking to join the party. He's looking to take third away from Tanner Long, but so far it's still Andrew Surwick having to put up a mighty defense of James Williamson, who's actually, oh no, he didn't lead that lap. A little bit of contact between Surwick and James Williamson sends Williamson up the track a little bit, and Tanner Long's going to push it to a 3 wide potentially. No, not quite able to get in between them. Instead, it's just forced to sit on the bottom line, and Gregory Shaw's going to look to pick Tanner off as he got a little bit too greedy.
Yeah, and Tanner, I didn't see exactly what happened there, but he scrubbed off quite a significant amount of speed, and Gregory Shaw ended up right on him, but James Williamson with the look over back to the under on Andrew Surwick. Surwick stays about 3 to 4 grooves high on the track down the front stretch. Gonna have to battle back for that one. James Williamson is not letting Surwick have this lead easy.
No, it's battling back and forth. Williamson's going to take it back. Surwick has the speed, but he has to get to the bottom. No, he's going to stick back on the outside. And now that the tires are a couple laps old, we're getting some temp in them. They're starting to degrade a little bit, and you might start to see that outside lane become a little bit more preferred.
Yeah, I think these guys are just going to spend the majority of the next few laps trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. A big thing in oval racing, obviously, is setting up for a pass, not necessarily pulling it off, but sometimes on these ovals, you have to kind of game out in time where you want to start your move, because sometimes it takes anywhere as long as a whole lap to complete a pass. So Andrew Surwick, I've noticed he keeps getting high up in 4 to try and get a great run down the front stretch and make a move on the inside down into 1.
Oh, what a block.
It up there, down, left
that was
tire,
a huge one from from James Williamson there.
And that allows Tanner Long back up into the mix. They're going to push it 3 wide here. No. Tanner Long follows behind. Surwick down to the inside. Williamson, a little bit of wash up to the second groove.
Ooh, he's going to go down. I believe we have a yellow. Yes, we are under caution now. And not going to be able to lead that lap is James Williamson. Cody Barrett further back in the pack is unfortunately going to lose it. And we'll have to see a replay of what happened there. But it is Andrew Surwick still up front. What happened here? Did he just wash up? Oh, he just got into the back of him and slid him into the outside wall. Might have thought he had a little bit more room than he did, but no, he just ends up running right into the back right tire. Check with my co-caster. Oh, there we go.
This is gonna. Sorry, I'm just kind of processing and thinking through things here. This happens sometimes in real life on the timing stand, but it gets quiet for a moment. Just kind of trying to think through what these leaders might be able to pull off. I don't think we're gonna see either of them pit here. Obviously, I believe pit lane should be open or about to open. We might see some of those guys in the back of the pack pit here. Of course, they're not going to lose position. Just make sure they're topped off on everything. You never know how many yellows you could get. You might be able to run to the end, and if that happens, they would jump all the way up to the front of the pack. So definitely a good move to make here.
Well, plus if they're in the back of the pack, it's not really a loss at all. I mean, you're losing maybe one actual position, and in return, you're getting full fuel and fresh tires. So, I mean, it just sounds like a win-win to me.
You've got absolutely nothing to lose back there, so you might as well try. I think Gregory Shaw there probably getting a little nervous seeing Andrew Surwick and James Williamson touch there on the front stretch. Also, Tanner Long getting that run. Also scrubbing off speed, coming all the way back to Shaw. I think he might camp this one out and see if anything happens up there, because they're getting pretty dicey. I'm sure it'll be the same story on the restart. Maybe he's just fingers crossed, hoping he can pull something off in an incident, maybe in the pit sequence, or it just saves all his moves till later in the race, which is not a bad idea, because right now the main thing, these guys are not only figuring the track out up front, but they're figuring each other out. James and Andrew have both kind of shown some of their cards here early on in the race. It's going to make it a lot harder to pass for them later in the race, as they kind of know what to expect from one another.
Well, Will, race engineer, what do you do?
Systems engineer.
Okay, but you're still engineering for a race car, right?
Sure.
Race engineer, 100%.
A couple of them.
So, on this next restart, Your tires are now a few laps old. You've had a couple of really good green flag laps running on them. And you're starting to run about halfway down on fuel at this point. Where are you running if you're up front here? What lines are you taking? Are you still defending that bottom, or are you going to try to experiment and start sliding higher up the track in the corners?
If I'm the 22 car up there leading this race, I'm taking basically a quali line. Maybe try and pull a little bit of a lower exit out of 2. Obviously not blocking, but just predictable move, not a reactionary move, to make sure I don't give up the inside, because it looks like that's where a lot of passes have been made on the front stretch. So out of 2, I'm taking it low down the back stretch, force him high a little bit, and then start to come up and get back to my line. That way he can't get an exceptional run on me. But in these cooler temps, of course, you get a little more downforce. It's a little harder to defend your position up there. We'll see what he has in store. That's what I'm doing, though. Quali lines, low on the back stretch.
All right, well, you heard it from our man with the plan. That's what he's doing. Let's see if Andrew Sarowick, James Williamson, Tanner Long, and Greg Shaw all feel the same as they are coming out of 4, getting ready to take our 3rd restart of the day. Pace car is off. It is in the hands of Andrew Sarowick, and he's going to jump way ahead of the green flag.
We are delayed.
And wait a minute.
Yellow.
The start has been waved off. Race control has extended by 1 lap. I'm not sure what the purpose was. We'll have to get clarification from them on that.
Well, he's not going to like this one, but I'm glad Andrew was able to start a restart at night, maintain his position, and not spin it into the grass. I still appreciate that one. It got me my first win in that league. So.
Oh, man.
Hey, man, we all know each
That's
other
where
a
we
little
got...
bit better now, so I got to throw some shade here and there.
That's where we got the moniker No Lift Andy.
Exactly. One of a few incidents. We'll ask Jake Jackson about that one another time. And don't sleep on him either. He's still in 8th, right where he started, but I know he's got some moves in him. He's been racing quite a bit recently. He's got that nice new livery, kind of looks a little bit like Lightning McQueen there. He hated it when I said that, but he's a good dude. I know he's got some good moves in him, and he's a pretty smart guy, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, really talented oval racer, honestly. Anyway. All right, this time I think we're going to get the restart done. Restarting, going green on lap 23. We are almost halfway through this race already, Will. I can't believe it.
Should be interesting here. We'll see a shakeup if we get a green run on what those strategies will be. But obviously, yeah, lights out on the pace car as we round out of turn 4. Pace car down into pit lane. Andrew Sarowick leading the field here. Steady pace, gets a nice jump down to the inside. Solid restart from Andrew Sarowick. See what James Williamson has in his pocket.
Well, Andrew's going to have to really run a very hot lap to distance James, as James is going to have him directly in his slipstream the entire time. And you said it, and Andrew Sarowick feels the exact same way. He's running that qualifying line. James Williamson, though, doing very good to stay in his slipstream and reeling him back in. Now, even within a 10th, Andrew comes down hard onto James Williamson. We're cutting off that bottom line, almost a block, but that might have been just within the legality.
Yeah, they're going into the corner. It's a pretty late look to the inside from Williamson. I think Andrew knew he had it cleared. That's the line he's going to take anyway, so I think that's all clean. But you look, Tanner Long getting washed out, almost pushing it 3 wide. I think Andrew's trying to do his best job to arc that corner as much as possible, feed off some turbulent air to the 2 behind, but that's not going to be enough to hold off James Williamson from pushing up the outside. Tanner Long really struggling from that dirty air.
James Williamson as well. I like what he's doing on the straights. He sees that Andrew's defending that bottom line, and he is keeping him honest down there, guarding that middle of the track. Recognize that Andrew cannot make his way down there, and Tanner Long threatening to make it 3 wide here. It actually was in the tri-oval, and Andrew just cannot get out past James Williamson. 3 wide now, though. James Williamson now being forced to block Tanner Long as well on the backside. They still roll through 3 and 4 incident-free. Andrew finally able to slide up in front of James, and he will continue to lead.
In order 1, 2, 3 Those guys are digging their tires in that relative order. Andrew holding that bottom line. He's going to wear out his tires a bit quicker. James, not as much. And Tanner Long getting the best end of the
Ooh, what a
bargain.
wash.
Trying to stay clean out of dirty air, taking the high line. Still manages to keep a run because the double toe. And now they swap. James Williamson right behind him again. Looks like Tanner got a little bit of wash there. Williamson, huge run here.
Meanwhile, behind him, Greg Shaw and Eric Oliva looking to potentially get in on the action, as well as Brock Whiteman just behind them. So we might see a three-way battle for the lead turn into a six-way battle for the lead in just a moment. This racing is about to get crazy, but I'd like to go down to our pit lane reporter for this one, Dean Biggles. We have a pit stop coming up soon, I believe, don't we?
Yeah, you'd have to expect there to be a pit stop, isn't it? Because we're
Up
approaching
into the wall,
halfway.
Gregory
Sorry.
Shaw sorry to cut you off there, Dean. Greg Shaw up into the wall, and that will bring out the yellow flag. And now, Dean, perfect timing to you, I guess. How does this shake up the pit strategy?
They just passed the pit lane, of course, but they're going to make their way around. And I would probably jump in the pits at the moment and get something done. And just to mention as well, too, that Joseph had that fairly early accident, the 88 car. He's up 14 positions, having to make that pit stop early, but he's still going to need to take in some gas and get some boots. This is a good opportunity, I have to say right now, guys, as we're replaying that accident. A little bit of a tank slapper in defense.
Oosa. There was a bit of a contact there, too, between Greg Shaw and I believe that was Eric Oliva that actually the contact sent Greg Shaw up into the wall. So that's unfortunate, but tis motor racing.
And that right front, chicken wing. But I had to hot dog and bologna, but now that we're at this stage of the race, headed into the 29th lap, these guys are going to be able to make it to the checkered on one stop. So you're definitely going to see these leaders come in here. There's no reason to bank on another yellow happening when you know you've got one that'll get you to the end. So a lot of the field coming in here. Expect a lot of guys mid to late pack stay out on track, which they will. Typically, as these races go on, yellows are not as frequent. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, looks like Dean, you can see better down there than we can. About 12 or 13, top 12 or 13 into the pits.
It's absolutely busy down here. I can barely hear you guys because there's some just cars, there's kerfuffling going on, of course. But yeah, it looked like Brennan had to take that gamble there and stay it out. That's that 26 car. But everybody else has, I mean, as mentioned, those drivers before that had made those pit stops earlier. Now looking to gain a lot of positions as well, but still early days and lots of racing to go. Busy down here, mate, but they're all in and out pretty quickly at about 8 seconds and change there for the pit stops. We should get back to green flag racing anytime soon. Back to you guys.
Pretty interesting there. Tanner Long actually beat James Williamson out of the pits. Pretty big move, especially when they get into that mid-pack racing. Seems like they've got quite a bit of pace. A lot of experience passing and avoiding that dirty air we talk about all the time. But Tanner Long with that extra leg up on James Williamson, as they're going to have to dice through these guys to get back to the front.
Well, a few drivers actually opted not to pit. The non-pitters, Brendan Calderon, Cody Barrett, Matthew Rice, David McCord, and Patrick Crouch, all of the above choosing not to take a pit stop, and they are going to be the new top 5.
Yeah, and I totally understand the position of those guys in the back not pitting, but for certain dudes who are right behind the leaders, I don't really see where that pays dividends here, right? You're going to end up having to make a stop, of course, before the end of this race. If a yellow doesn't fly, you're automatically done for. And if it does, you're still going to end up behind those guys you were behind originally. So not really much of a gamble there. All you do is take a little bit more risk on yourself by banking on that other yellow and still not able to gain anything out of it. So tough decision for those guys. But it's moments like these where a lot of us as iRacers and drivers in real life learn things.
Yeah, so Brendan Calderon has not pitted at all this race. So that's something critical to note here. He's probably running pretty low. He's below a quarter of a tank at this point. We've run a few caution laps. I don't want to say he's running on fumes, but he's going to have to pit pretty soon. But the others of the top 5 that didn't pit, all of them have pitted more recently than the beginning of the race. I believe we have Cody Barrett on lap 18, as well as Matthew Rice, David McCord on lap 21, And Patrick Crouch, currently running in P5, if he really fuel saves, he might be able to make it to the end, but that's going to be a stretch and a half.
I wouldn't put it past Calderon if we see a couple more cautions here. I'm talking 2 to 3, maybe 4 cautions. Him try and stretch it. He was mid-pack there for the entire first half of the race so far. The great thing about these cars is the fuel map ability to save fuel. I know it sounds crazy, Keegan, but with the amount of cautions we've had, it's very possible he could stretch this if he was running map 4 or 5 that whole time.
Well, we'll see on the restart, won't we? He's going to wait till the green flag and take off and gets a big gap over Craig Bray right behind him. And we are green flag here once again at Auto Club Speedway. Bunch of shuffling back in the middle of the pack. Looks like Andrew Surwick and the leaders, provisional leaders, excuse me, are involved in that one. Meanwhile, Brendan Calderon gets out to a big lead with Craig Bray about a second behind him.
Quite a few guys in turn 2 filing up next to each other, not really wanting to stick it out into single file just yet. Big toss up into turn 3. A couple cars taking a very late entry, but Calderon is kind of building up a bit of a gap here. Obviously, if he wanted to make this on no stops, he'd have to give up the lead, so I don't think that's the case. Try and build up as much of a gap as possible and hope that caution happens way back so he can pit earlier than a lot of other guys.
He's looking pretty solid on the handling right now as well, so tire degradation might not be as big of a deal as it has been in the past. Partially attributed to being a night race. He's actually able to hold that bottom line and still be pretty quick. But Cody Barrett behind him is catching up to him ever so slightly by about a 10th per lap.
Yeah, but in between those two guys, though, we got Adam Thompson and Craig Bray in P19 and P20 fighting hard for their lap back. If Cody Barrett gets by both of them, they're going to be a little irritated. Cody Barrett makes a move to the inside of Adam Thompson. They're into 3. That's going to make it a little bit tougher for those guys to get their lap back here until the next pit stop for these two guys up front. Cody Barrett up high into, I think that was Thompson.
Yeah, that was Thompson.
That got the yellow those guys were looking for.
Yep. They were definitely looking for the yellow, and all right, move of the race so far, Brendan Calderon, who could somehow sixth sense the caution to happen. And now Brendan Calderon was actually involved in one of those earlier cautions and is now back on the lead lap.
Now, like I said just a moment ago, rounding out that last caution, these guys who are pitting now and didn't pit last time didn't really help themselves, but now they will not be hurt with this yellow flag flying on the front stretch. What is going to be interesting to see here, I know a couple guys back there, like we've watched all race with Andrew Surwick, Tanner Long, James Williamson, Eric Leva, Jake Jackson. I could go on and on. Throw Brock Whiteman in there too. If you pit, were you kind of expecting another caution there and maybe shorted fuel a tiny bit to get the jump? That could be what did it for Tanner Long to jump that position on Williamson. But I guess in hindsight, that's something you'd want to think about now. I
mean, you can absolutely guess that Calderon is probably not taking full fuel, but you know, we'll have to see what he ends up actually taking at the end and if he's going to have enough fuel. But I'm thinking this might actually turn into a fuel mileage game towards the end, so long as it runs green from here on out, though. But I mean, if it doesn't, these guys all have enough to go to the end.
Yeah, I mean, it would only turn into a fuel mileage game if someone fueled shorter than their number, like I was just saying, but the caution obviously makes that number a little more viable than it was prior. I think these guys are going to be pretty good on fuel till the end, but if there's anyone pitting now trying to jump a spot, that's what you'd want to do, right? You take half a gallon, maybe a gallon less than you're predicted. You're going to be in a tow, especially for Brendan Calderon, who was running up there burning a little more fuel. His average is higher on consumption than most of the other drivers in the pack. So maybe you fuel a little bit less than it says you need to. You ride it out, try and make some late moves, pick up a few spots, but I don't think that strategy is going to be the winning one.
Meanwhile, look who's managed to shuffle his way up to the front. David McCourt, currently rolling around in P2.
And David McCourt pitted real early, had the massive undercut on lap 19. Was kind of saved by the other caution that let the leaders pit as well. Shoveled his way up those 19 positions and is right there behind Matthew Rice, who's also up 13 positions. Those guys pitted on lap 18 and lap 19 respectively. So they might be just good till the end here. They may need another caution or two out of it. But I'm sure they are banking on that and confident it could happen based on how the first 35 laps of this race have gone so far.
Yeah, you said it, a caution or two, and they might have an outside shot of being able to make it, but they're going to have to fuel save pretty hard, rolling around in that third or fourth gearbox, or sorry, engine mapping.
Well,
but right now they're in eighth the whole time.
No, I think they're chilling right now in map 3 or 4, unless they get a caution. I think if they get a caution or two, I think they can run it flat out to the end. It's obviously going to be a little more difficult for Matthew Rice. Would not be shocked to see David McCourt kind of just follow behind here, but he doesn't want to give up too many spots to the guys behind. They do have lap cars in between, which helps out a little bit, though. And they're getting the wave around, so they will not.
Yeah, I was going to say, they should be getting the wave around at this point. We're past halfway. So, yeah, it's just going to be the leaders up front. No lapped cars to worry about. Well, folks, before we go green here, we want to tell you about our other sponsor tonight, and that is the illustrious Driver 61 is sponsoring the Apollo Racing Club for this season. Did you know that Europe's biggest driving school, that is Driver 61, has entered the sim racing market? You can go to driver61.com to get a discount on all of their services with the discount code ARC Driver 61. That's good for 25% off all of their teaching services, and they really do have some great stuff over there. So go over there and use the code ARC Driver 61 for that discount. All right, folks, strap in. We are past halfway, which means this is going to be a fast and furious restart. The field is in the hands of Matthew Rice, David McCourt right behind, and Andrew Surwick in third. Our top three from last season currently leading in P1, 2, 3 at the latter stages of this race. Matthew Rice is in command of the field, and he's going to jump out ahead of David McCourt, who actually gets a pretty good reactionary jump and is going to keep the distance fairly close, but we are back and racing here at Auto Club.
If you're Andrew Surwick here, you're obviously good on fuel to the end. I don't know if he's aware that these guys pitted so early. If he is, he would stay behind and make sure they burn as much as possible, but it looks like he's going to start making moves which will help Matthew Rice and David McCourt out on their fuel save just a little bit. You see they run high, let him by, so you know they're trying to save every last ounce. He's going to sit right behind him. Surwick ducks low, defends that inside, not knowing that the guys behind are probably just trying to save a little.
I'm actually of the opposite mind right now, Will. I think if you're Andrew Surwick, and even if you do know that they haven't pitted for a while, that you jump out as far ahead as you possibly can, because if you get a couple more caution flags, they're going to be able to threaten you for your position. But he does have the extra tire life to work with, so he does have a definite advantage there. But there's also the fact that if he can use that tire life to get a big enough lead out ahead of these two, then they're really not going to be able to save much of anything.
I'm going to disagree with you here big time, man. That toe saves you wonders of fuel, and you see them following it as close as they can right now. Not really working together much because those two, Matthew Rice and David McCourt, are going to be racing each other at the end. But I think if you're Andrew Surwick, again, I think you let those guys burn their fuel off. He's probably not aware they pitted 10 laps earlier. But, yeah, I got to disagree with you, man. That toe is huge. I think you let them burn off the fuel, get in trouble at the end, make a mass save at the end because they're scared they won't make it, and that's when you bite.
Caution flag, caution, caution, caution. And I know I heard somebody in the wall. I think it was in the tri-oval, but I'm not sure who it was. Oh, looks like it was Joseph Dupont according to our timing and scoring. We'll have to see what happened. Oh, this is already... There we go. Oh, we just got loose coming out of 4 and just hit the outside wall.
I'd like to see that again. I wonder if that has something to do with those grooves we talked about a little earlier. I don't know what lap he pitted. His tires were probably pretty fresh. But you never know. Those things will bite, and they'll snap you when you don't expect it at all. Yeah, he just got loose and up into the wall. Not really much you can do to save it there, but he sticks it into the wall, holds the brakes. Everybody passes safely on the inside. There's still positives here. No one else got collected.
Yeah. Put a spin on it if possible. You know, Will, this has actually been a rather fair race and actually a very exciting race so far, as we still have how many 20 cars on the lead lap right now.
Pretty solid. Only 4 cars that started are not on the lead lap. So even throughout all these cautions, some of them have been able to recover, along with the use of a fast repair to stay in this one. But that should make for some great final 10 lap battles, I guess, assuming we go green.
Well, we are at the 18 to go mark. Looks like we're going to be restarting with 16 to go, as the pace car still has the lights on. So, you know what, Will? Let's talk about this a little bit. So, you have a race coming up. What's the next race for MSR this season? Barber? Yeah, Barber.
Barber. We've got Barber. The entire IndyCar series has the Indy Open test at Indianapolis Motor Speedway next week. I believe that's actually going to be on Peacock this year, which is pretty cool. So we're prepping for that right now. And then real quick turnaround to go down to Birmingham, Alabama for Barber. And then back up to Indy for the month of May, which is going to be hectic. And the week after the 500 is the Detroit Grand Prix, the last one at Belle Isle. So quite a busy schedule the next few weeks. I unfortunately won't make it to any broadcasts probably for the next several weeks. So I'll definitely be missing it.
Yeah. Last one at Belle Isle is a crying shame, as that's probably one of the best road courses there. Sorry, street courses there is.
As a race fan, it is definitely a shame. As someone who works on a team, it's a blessing that it's only one race this year. And a lot of guys are actually happy that it will not be a thing, just because the racing was so intense there. It's one of those street courses you can actually pass at. And a lot of guys ended up in the wall. A lot of things have gone wrong there, but it's produced some great and exciting racing. I'm one of the few that'll be real sad to see it go, for sure. It's been one of my favorite tracks for a lot of my life.
And yet, Crashville is still on the calendar.
Yeah, hopefully we see some changes made to that one. I would like to see them go back to Nashville Super Speedway. I don't know if you saw today that Penske put out that they're kind of looking to expand the schedule via more ovals. So that is something that I am excited about to see what happens in the next few years or so. I'm sure Milwaukee will come back. It looks like, or sounds like, Texas will be staying on the schedule, which is good. So hopefully it brings back some of the glory days of IndyCar.
All right. Hear me out. North Wilkesboro.
I think we'll pass on that one. I don't make the calls, man. You might want to call Roger.
All right, fine. I'll just dial up Roger on my private secure line. Absolutely.
Roger.
Roger.
I doubt he'll pick up, but you can try. You'll probably hear some sort of robot pick up just like that. But the lights are out on the pace car. Andrew Serwick, I will now agree with you that now that the yellow fell out and those guys behind, Matthew and David, will not have to save as much fuel. He is in the right position leading this field to green.
Yeah, I had a feeling we'd get another caution, and that's why I was kind of the mind of jumping out might be the better option. And he definitely got that position and now doesn't have to fight for it. Still has the fresher tires, has enough fuel to make it to the end 100%, isn't going to have to save. So we might actually see Andrew dust the field here, depending on how good of a start he gets. And he does get a good jump there, but not quite enough to get out of the toe. Or sorry, to get Matthew Rice out of his toe. And David McCord is actually able to keep it up with Matthew Rice right behind. But we continue out, and we are green through 1 and 2. Everybody is staying single file for now. Doesn't look like we have anything too severe in the back in terms of a cluster. No, actually, they're actually pretty orderly through 2.
Yeah, and I'm really curious what David McCord is thinking here, defending champion from last season of the Apollo Racing Club iRacing IndyCar Series. He is winless this season as another caution is thrown here, unfortunately. But David McCord is winless this season, so if we get some green flag laps in here, I'm curious if he's going to try and make a move to get that extra boost in points to get back into the fight, or if he's going to just try and play it conservative.
That is DeAndre Young. Looks like he might have gotten loose. Oh, he actually collected someone else. I'm not sure who that is. That's the 33 of Tyler Reed. So, yeah, DeAndre Young just got loose coming out of 4, and unfortunately, Tyler Reed was just in the path of destruction. Washed up there.
Yeah, real big wash up there from Young, forcing Reed into the wall. Luckily, it looks like everybody else got by scot-free. Man, I'm really curious how James Williamson fell that far back. The only guys who have pitted early that are still up front there, of course, Matthew Rice on lap 18, David McCourt lap 19, and Patrick Crouch on lap 21. Everybody else in your top 12 pitted on lap 28 when that caution flew. So not quite sure how James Williamson has fallen back like that.
Well,
but I'm sure that won't be the end of him.
If you remove the people in front of him who pitted early, that does still put him in P3. So that being remove Crouch, McCourt, and Rice, that does still put him in P3 with Tanner and Andrew.
Cautions. They're going to make it with all the cautions.
Might,
so
yeah. Well,
I am fully confident.
I can 100% say that Patrick Crouch is probably safe at this point. I don't know about McCourt and Rice. They pitted on 19 and 18 respectfully, so I don't know if they're going to have enough to make it to the end.
We've gotten 4 cautions since they pitted, and they were, what, 8, 9 laps top short on fuel. They'll be fine. They've made up for that in the yellow sequence and following the toe of Andrew Serwick. And they will continue to have that toe the remainder of this race, probably until they try and attack and make a move.
Oh no, I still think they're trying to save.
I love that we're both strong in our opinions, and I think it's a very good thing to respectfully disagree and make things interesting. But my money is on the table with this one. They're good.
I've got to respectfully disagree with that one. I think even with 3 cautions that we've had, 3 or 4 since they pitted, I still think 10 laps is super hard to make up when your fuel tank is only good for 30. I mean, trying to save an extra third a tank of fuel is difficult no matter what. So they are almost certainly saving fuel like mad. And if they can make it to the end, kudos. Like I said, I think Crouch is probably okay, but McCourt and Rice, I'm not so sure about.
Well, I guess the only way to tell is finish off these last 12 laps. We will be going green next time by. I mean, that's the only way to tell, Keegan. You can have the conversation with him afterwards about how I was confident in him.
Oh, see, Will, we know how these arguments always end up.
Hey, man, tonight I've been pretty solid. I just got.
I was gonna say neither one of us ends up right.
The odds are with me tonight so far. I've called everything from leader lines to when they're gonna pit. My confidence and ego is growing right now as a commentator, as I'm still kind of figuring this whole thing out.
Speaking of which, let's get one last checkup with Dean Biggles before we go back for what may be the last restart of the race. Dean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, they're about to go green. Well, at the moment, I do have to agree, sorry, with Will on that one. I'd have to say because of those cautions, the lower fuel and all that jazz, it'll be a bit better on tires. That's what I know from a Formula 1 experience anyway. And yeah, and if there's another caution with 13 to go, then that's definitely going to really swing into Matthew and David's McCourt. There you go, David McCourt. So anyway, but
He did
yeah.
it too.
So you guys, yeah. So we'll find out, won't we?
We definitely will, as they are back and green as Andrew Serwick gets out to a big jump and kind of puts a little bit of ground over Matthew Rice. That's going to make him struggle to be able to retain fuel. Meanwhile, Tanner Long behind David McCourt, he's on fresh tires and full fuel, so he does not have to wait on David at all. He's going to jump out in front of David and try and take that spot, and I believe right behind him, that is Patrick Crouch, who might try and take that position too.
You know, Andrew's feeling really good about this one, right? He's got nothing to lose. He's got his teammate 3 cars behind.
Caution is
and
out.
we've got another caution. So maybe Andrew's not feeling as good as I thought. But he's got his teammate and Tanner Long just a couple cars behind him. Could be huge for team championship points standings. Hopefully we can green when we go back. It'll probably be, what, 7 to go?
Yeah, I believe so. That is Craig Bray and Mark Feeney, who got tangled up there at the exit of 4. Oh, they were already wrecking up there when we got to them on the replay. Let's see if we can rewind the clock back a little bit. And yeah, not entirely sure who was the root cause of that one. Here we go. Let's back it up a little bit. Looks like, I believe that was Mark Feeney just washing up a little bit. Or, yep, that was Mark Feeney just washing up a little bit and spun Craig Bray right round.
Yeah, definitely washed up a little bit more than he would like, and I think they were both a little too comfortable with each other there, right? When you're side by side into a corner with someone, you got to take a similar line just with a different radius, and one of them decided early apex, late exit, and the other one did just the opposite, so they came a little bit into each other, but that wash definitely pulled, Feeney up a little bit higher than he would have liked to. Brings them both out of contention for this one.
Now, with having this extra caution and probably restarting with 7 or 8 to go, I'm a little bit more confident about the chances of Matthew Rice and David McCourt. You know,
are you now?
Yeah, now I am. So if we had gone green, absolutely not. There was no way they were making it. Now, though, I'm pretty confident that they can make it on fuel. Crouch, certain. He's good to go. Although all things considered, Will, this has been a pretty good race so far when we've had the green flag runs.
Yeah, for the few number of laps we've gone green, it's been a very solid race. I don't know. Hopefully we can get a green run to the end here. We've gone 2/3 of the race green.
Have we?
Yes, we have. But there will be, I am assuming, 8 to go at the line. Assuming the pace car is friendly and turns his lights off.
We'll be restarting with 7 to go, I believe. Yeah, we'll be restarting with 7 to go as the pace car still has its lights on. So, yeah. I am 100% expecting this to be an absolute shootout to the end. It's going to be on Serwick to try to defend that front spot. Tanner Long, you know he's going to be hungry. Try and pick off a spot from McCourt and or Rice and maybe try and pressure Andrew for the victory.
All right, time to have a little fun with the betting since we want to see who can predict more things. Who's your top 5?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So I'm gonna say Andrew Serwick, Tanner Long, David McCourt, Matthew Rice, James Williamson.
You said Tanner Long up to P2?
Yep. I think Tanner Long up to P2. He has the benefit of the fresher tires, even though tire dig hasn't been that big a deal. 40 laps on the tires will still take its toll. And he also doesn't have to worry about fuel at all. Granted, like I said, I don't think McCourt and Rice do at this point, but still, he doesn't really have to worry about it at all. So I think he's going to have the benefit of that fresher tires to go up there and get ahead of both Rice and McCourt.
I'm going to say Surwick, Matthew Rice, because Long is going to lose a little bit of time trying to get by McCourt. And then Tanner Long, then David McCourt, and I think Williamson might make a late move on Patrick Crouch, but Crouch is strong up 12 positions into P5 right now, so the only way we will be able to tell is in these final 7 laps if we can get a green run.
Well, you know, Tanner Long has some really bad luck at the ends of these races. It seems like actually all of these top 4 have some bad luck at the ends of these races. So, you know what? We always think we know how it's going to end, Will, and then it all just goes out the window. So I guess we'll have to let the on-track action inform us how this race is going to end. It'll be 7 to go at the line. As we come out of 4, the field is going to be in the hands of Andrew Surwick. And we will be back to green here momentarily. Pace cars in. Andrew Surwick has the field in his hands. He's going to back him up, and go on the green. As he gets a pretty good jump out over Matthew Rice. David McCourt just behind him, but Tanner Long already breathing down the attenuator of David McCourt.
Surwick with a decent jump out to 0.3 of a second ahead of Matthew Rice. Tanner Long up the inside of David McCourt. He's already pulled that one off. That'll give him plenty of time to reel the 2 leaders in here. David McCourt is going to follow closely behind Tanner Long, and Patrick Crouch just waiting for something to happen up ahead. Not much going on behind him with James Williamson just yet.
Tanner Long actually looking to pressure down Matthew Rice here. As Matthew Rice is right feeding off of the draft of Andrew Surwick right in front of him. And this is a very tight battle for the front 3, as we have 3 cars that can all challenge for that lead at the moment. Tanner Long kind of bringing up that 3rd place position, but Matthew Rice has been right on the back of Andrew Surwick for the entire time so far after this restart.
Yeah, he's been right there. He's doing his best he can to maintain pace, get some clean air while holding off Tanner Long at the same time. Now I think McCourt is in the conservative position as we have another yellow.
Oh, man. That might actually cause it to end under yellow. I wonder what the cause was.
We'll get you a replay here in just a moment.
Tyler Reed, Cody Barrett, and John Krauser involved in an incident. Oh, there was someone ahead of him already wrecked.
Looked like Cody Barrett down there with someone else on the apron right at start finish. See if we can find what happened between those 2 gentlemen.
Let's see. This is a good view to see it from. Oh, multiple. Oh, what happened there? Was there a late block? They're already wrecking way ahead. Oh my goodness. Oh, just a bit of incidental contact, and then that just kind of wrecked the steering. Unfortunate. Well, 4 to go right now, 3 to go next time by. Pace car is out. If we go back green, it's going to be a 1-lap shootout.
I think Andrew's in a safe spot right now. Looks like he's pretty good at getting a solid jump on those restarts and at least able to maintain that lead for a couple laps following the green flag. So I'm sure he's feeling pretty comfortable. You know, Tanner Long is just chomping at the bit right now, wants to get as good of a run on Matthew Rice as he can so those 2 teammates in the orange and black cars can finish up front. But that means he's going to have to back up David McCourt, which will make it a little bit easier for James Williamson and Patrick Crouch just behind.
Well, I believe race control is thinking about reducing the number of caution laps this will be, so we'll have a 1 to go this time by, but so that we have a 1 to go now, but we'll have to see what they're going to do about that. But we've got to hope that we're going to have at least a one-lap shootout here, and that this doesn't end under yellow. You know who else is chomping at the bit right now, though, Will? James Williamson back there in P6. He wants that he wants that top 5.
Right, and I think he's got a good shot at it. Like I said, I'm sure Tanner Long will give a little bit of extra space ahead on the restart if we get one, to try and get a nice run on Matthew Rice on the back stretch, which will back McCourt back up into Crouch and Williamson. If Williamson anticipates that, he could get the same type of run Tanner Long may get to pick up a couple spots there. But it is oval racing. Anything can happen, as we've seen tonight. Throughout the few short green flag runs we have gotten, we've seen some great side-by-side action. Early on in the race, Andrew Surwick and James Williamson went back and forth for the lead for a little while there, pulling off some crazy stunts and maneuvers on one another. They were able to make quite a bit of it stick, and I'm sure a lot of these guys sitting here in the top 10 right now are confident that they can do the same.
Yeah, a lot of high-quality driving that we're seeing up at the front of the pack, and we are going to have a one-lap shootout. The lights are out on the pace car. It's going to be one lap to decide it all.
And with a win here, potentially, Andrew Surwick would be 2-0 on the season at both of our ovals. Round 1 came away with the W at Texas Motor Speedway, No Limits, Texas. Another great American oval.
Well, he is the oval.
Pull it off here tonight?
He is the oval alien in our league, Will.
That's what he says. Self-proclaimed. He wouldn't let me have a chance at him tonight.
He was too scared.
That's what I told him. He said, "All right, buddy." I said, "Don't buddy me, pal."
I'm not your pal, friend.
Who are you calling buddy, guy? We'll see what he can do here on this final lap. We're getting a green checkered. Not something you see too often, but the lights are out on the pace car. Andrew looks like he's backing up the pack.
1 to go. Andrew's going to get the biggest jump he possibly can. Tanner Long needs a good jump too. Matthew Rice needs to be on the ball. He is a little bit, but Tanner Long gets a really great jump out ahead of David McCourt. He's going to be able to pressure Matthew Rice for that P2 spot, and he's going to drop down looking for it almost immediately. Right on the attenuator. He's going to set this up in 3 and 4.
If you're Andrew Surwick right now, you got to do everything you can to communicate with your teammate Tanner Long. Try and get Matthew Rice out of the way so you can give your teammate the draft. You see him dive down in there to give Tanner Long a little bit of a boost and help him up the inside, and that's exactly what happens. Tanner Long gets a great run, scrubs off too much speed. Matthew Rice washes up right in front of him. Matthew Rice with the run on Andrew Surwick, both down to the apron. It's going to be side by side. Andrew Surwick will take it here at Auto Club Speedway.
That was a very tight finish at the end there. Matthew Rice almost managed to get it done. Tanner Long almost managed to get it done for that second place position as well, but just was not quite able to do it. Washed up just a little bit too much speed in 4, and that is how the race will end as everybody wrecks it on the backstretch with flames in the air, sending high up into the sky. Andrew Surwick will take P1, Matthew Rice taking that second place, and Tanner Long coming out with the P3.
Yeah, I think if possible with production, could we get a replay of the exit of turn 2 for those 3 lead cars there? I think the only thing that could have gotten Tanner Long that second position is if Surwick would have dove down to the bottom on the backstretch a bit earlier, giving him a little extra tow, but it sadly just wasn't quite enough to get in that second spot. You know, obviously, again, teammates communicating, working together, trying to maximize their points potential. But what a hectic finish on this final lap. Long just runs it a little bit higher than he'd like, but it allows him to get the toe and kind of shoot up the inside of Matthew Rice.
He just couldn't get woed up in time and just ends up having to let out of the gas, and he sends it up the track. Matthew Rice was really challenging Andrew for that final spot, but he was just able to keep it on the apron and go for the W. So
I think he
Yeah.
just made the move on Rice a little bit too early, which made it so he was just right up on Andrew, had to check up, ended up washing. Didn't really have anywhere to go. Nevertheless, great finish from these guys at Apollo Racing Club. Always great racing. Those green flag laps tonight were electric.
Yeah, actually, it was a really great battle all the way around. Even though we had a couple more cautions than I think we were hoping for, it was definitely really good when we had those green flag laps. And some players are still going to have to, get a little bit more practice on these ovals, especially these high speed super speedways like Auto Club. But yeah, it's really improving so far in even just the second oval race of the season. Will.
Yeah, it has, and unfortunately, I just only got to skim through the first 2 rounds of the season as I was gone on the road and wasn't able to commentate. But it seems like this season's got great potential for some awesome racing up front. You see the results here of the race tonight at Auto Club Speedway. Andrew Serwick taking home the trophy and some champagne, finishing P1, followed closely behind by Matthew Rice, Tanner Long, Dominator, David McCourt, and Patrick Crouch for your top 5.
And then P6, James Williamson, not quite able to get it done into that top 5 tonight. Had a strong start to the race, though. Eric Oliva in P7, Brock Whiteman P8, Jake Jackson P9, and Gregory Shaw rounding out the top 10.
Got Adam Martin finishing in the 11th spot. Right behind him, Brendan Calderon, who tried to go a bit off strategy with a very hard overcut late pit. Doesn't quite pay off for him tonight in P12. Liam McNeil starting to get quite a bit better at these ovals, I'd say. I watched him closely tonight. Made some great moves, finishing in P13, followed by RJ Conley, Craig Bray, and Scott Singbush.
Rounding out the rest of the field, we have Christopher Norris in P17, DeAndre Young in P18, John Krauser P19, and the top 20 rounding out is Mark Feeney. Then we have Tyler Reed, Cody Barrett, Joseph DuPont, Adam Thompson, and Daniel Taskey rounding out the remainder of the field. Some unfortunate races further there in the back, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll see them next week here at the Apollo Racing Club IndyCar Series. But we are getting ready to do our interviews of our top 3 finishers, as we are just waiting to get Tanner Long in here whenever we can drag him in. And actually, yeah, we're going to take a quick break, folks. And when we come back, we're going to have our interviews with our top 3 drivers from tonight. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. We have our driver interviews for the evening. We are here with our 3rd place driver for the night, Tanner Long. Congratulations on your big P3 on the podium after this very difficult race at Auto Club. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay. I think I definitely had the pace to be P2 and challenge Andrew for the win there, but cautions just didn't help me out any. But that's okay. Happy with the 3rd, and it's great to have a teammate finish first too. So
always good for the team championship there. So that beginning of the race, that was a really tight battle for the top 3 or 4.
Oh,
Describe
man.
what was going through your head.
Oh, I was sitting in fuel mode 5 for most of that because I did not want to get anywhere near what James and Andrew were. That little party they were having up at front. They made contact a few times, and so I just decided to save fuel a little bit. Which sadly we didn't go green, so it didn't help me. But yeah, I thought for sure they were gonna wreck, and I was impressed that they didn't. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Well, looks like you got a strong teammate this season in Andrew Serwick. Obviously, a second oval win of the season, but you were right there, only less than 4/10 back from him on the win there as they went for a drag race on the finish. But it looked like you made sort of a move on Matthew Rice on that final green lap there.
Yeah.
Inside on the backstretch. Was there any help from Andrew there or any communication for him to try and give you a bit of a tow to get up the inside? Or was that kind of all just you guys being smart, knowing each other pretty well?
Yeah, no, there was definitely a lot of teamwork there. The problem was he gave me too good of a tow, and Matthew put his car in the perfect position, so I couldn't really go anywhere. I was just boxed into the dirty air. But I was telling Andrew, he's lucky that Matthew played that right, because I think I would have been able to go right around the outside and probably would have won. But yeah, kudos to Matthew, because that was perfect car placement right there.
Yeah, and for you to be able to back that off and with your wash to stay clean next to him was pretty impressive. But I just wanted to point that out because I was saying that during the broadcast, that would likely happen. And I think that's a great part of the addition of teams to the Apollo Racing Club, iRacing IndyCar Series, because you're able to do stuff like that, right? And that's exactly what would happen in the real world. So it's awesome to see you guys kind of help each other out, try and optimize and maximize those points. But congrats again on that P3 finish. You look strong tonight, and I'm looking forward to watching you the rest of the season.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we are going to get our second place runner-up here, and that is going to be Matthew Rice joining us in the booth for his interview. Matthew, what a race that was. Tell me what was going through your head on those last couple of laps, especially when you knew that you were on not so great tires and trying to defend against a hard charging Tanner Long.
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know anything about oval racing, so the only thing I know is I just gonna take the high line unless there's a car in front of me giving me dirty air, and otherwise I'll go the low line. So I mean that was all I had. I was just like, I don't understand why I'm in second place right now. I'm just gonna keep on the high line and see what happens. And yeah, it was. I mean, I wanted second, so don't get me wrong. I actually wanted first. I was really concerned that Tanner was going to get that second place from me on the turn 3-4 right there. I guess he just pushed it too hard though, and couldn't end up by making the turn. So I was able to jump in there just in front of him. And man, I thought I had Andrew at the end, but I'm not. I didn't know you could run on the apron like that, so I refused to go down and follow him. But yeah, it's a good race. I have no idea how I did it.
As long as he didn't pass down there, he should have been fine. By the way, you could have fooled me with the not knowing how to race on ovals, considering you put up the second fastest lap of the race. So I mean,
did I really?
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, you put up the second fastest lap of the race.
Oh, all right. Well, that's good.
Me as well as Tanner Long. We just talked to him a moment ago, and he said you made the absolute perfect move, put your car in the perfect spot to hold him off from stealing that second place position from you on the final lap there. So you're fooling everybody out here, man. You look strong, and kind of missed you towards the end of the last season, but you looked strong last season as well. So don't sell yourself short.
All right, I will say that
finish.
This is the first week in a row. This is the first week I've ever ran IndyCar Oval Racing League, so I was actually prepared for this race. Usually I just do the hour-long practice before the race, and that's the only practice I get in ovals. So yeah, maybe I should start practicing this stuff.
Practice on ovals is definitely underrated, I think, in iRacing.
Yeah, definitely. See that.
All right, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us in the booth tonight. Go have fun and enjoy your second place for the evening.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys.
All right, folks. Now we're going to get our winner tonight. He is 2 for 0 on ovals. We have him in the booth now for his interview, his champion interview. Andrew Surwick, congratulations on the win. As I just said, you're 2 and 0 on ovals this season. How you feeling about that?
Pretty dang good, man. It feels real good. I needed some wins to kick off the season, because last season was a real slow start to my title defense, and obviously that's I think what cost me towards the end last season. So to have 2 wins this early on in the season just feels real good.
And actually, that's going to give you solid control of the point standings as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And you did a great job tonight at trying to help your teammate out there at the end. We've talked to both of them about it. But, I mean, you obviously dominated and led the majority of the race. No lift Andy back at it again, but no one in front of him to lift for. So props to you, dude. Was there any hesitation on your pit stop, or did you pretty much say, hey, I'm going to make it to the end. I might as well pit now and not bank on another yellow. I know I'll get back to the lead at some point.
Not really. I kind of said, once I get close enough to the halfway point of the race, I'll just pit. Yeah, it worked out perfectly that we ended up pitting, I think, just about on lap 30. So, but yeah, no, I knew exactly what I was going into it, and Tanner and I, we were discussing in the team radio the entire time, just when we were going to pit, and it ended up paying off for the both of us at the end.
I mean, it definitely looked like it paid off for both of you at the end. Now, were you aware that Matthew Rice had pitted 10 laps before you did?
I was not, but we were trying to discuss on when they pitted, because Tanner had Race Labs open and was trying to, and it wasn't saying that they pitted at all. So I was like, well, it could have been that they just weren't drawn on your screen, and they did pit early, and it turns out that was the case at the end of the day, because I went and talked to Matt and David there, and yeah. So I was kind of surprised, but I knew I had the fresher tires and a heck of a lot more confidence in the car, especially in the traffic. Worked a lot on that this week, just with the AI and in practice as well before the race tonight, just trying to get comfortable in traffic, and it ended up paying massive dividends to get me back out front.
All right, well, looking forward towards the rest of the season, the next oval race is Indianapolis for the Indy 250, but the race in between now and then is Spa. It's one of the hardest road courses, and it's no secret that your performance on road courses has been not so great. What are you doing to prepare for next week at Spa? Have you put any practice in yet, or what are you thinking?
I've been practicing for Spa every once in a while this week. Basically, between the road course rounds, like even I'll practice for the ovals a little bit, but I'll just focus on the next road course for the most part. But I mean, Spa's been real kind to me in this league. I got a win there in season 4 and finished on the podium last season, so a lot of confidence going into that race next week. So I think definitely top 5 is on the cards. But again, I also feel like there's like 10 guys that could finish in the top 5 next week.
Well, that is good to hear, and this is definitely getting a lot more competitive as well. So great to hear from you, and go enjoy that win tonight, bud.
I will. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, this one is in the books, Will.
It is indeed, and it was a good one when we got some runs in, saw a lot of close battles. Real exciting, like you just said. This has gotten a lot more competitive. There's a lot of guys that look pretty strong early in the season and are definitely not down and out of it in championship standings. Andrew may have a great lead, but I'm sure a few guys will be willing to bring the fight to him as these weeks surpass.
And as well, Dean Biggles, our pit road reporter, great to have you on, man. And I can't wait to be up here in the booth with you next week.
Thank you very much. It was absolutely thrilling. Yeah, we're going to leave obviously the United States of America, and we're going to go over to one of my Formula One Circuit de Spa Chubs. That's going to be a classic, isn't it? Because now these gladiators have to turn left and right, not just continuously turning left.
Ooh.
And while this track obviously has been long recognized as a supreme test of courage and skill, especially when you're flying your way up the hill through, I can't even remember that for a second. It's through... down the Camel Straight.
Rouge and Radion?
Rouge, that's it. So I should know this. I've been to this track many times.
Oh,
this is going to be a massive, massive test for sure to see what's going to happen. And I tell you what, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you very much for allowing me to be part of the team. So fuel up the jet, my friend, the Apollo Racing Club jet. And let's get ready to rumble next week. And yeah, also the pit lane report was... definitely a good thing. I was sponsored there for a second. I completely forgot the sponsored there. I was sponsored by, of course, that was... I'm just fumbling with my words right now because it's been too much excitement. Congratulations, Matthew, David, and Andrew. And let's not forget Patrick finishing 13 places up as well in a P4 and with the additional pit stop. So good job for him.
Yeah, hard charger there. All right, folks, but you heard it there from Dean. Fuel up your ARC jets. Put your cars on a boat heading over to France, as next week we'll join you at the same time, same place from the ARC IndyCar iRacing Series at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see you all next week, everybody. Have a good night.